Hello and welcome to the Movie Bunker podcast. It's me, Chris.
And me, Matt.
Hooray!
I was trying to elicit some sort of excitement in my voice.
Different, isn't it?
It is. Or did I just sound like an old lady? And me, Matt.
You sounded a bit weird. Hey, we'll try something new. Try something different next time. Just see how it goes.
But yes, how are you, Chris? What are you doing?
I'm okay. Not too bad. Not much since we last spoke. We've just been watching a bit of TV, a bit of movies.
I saw some films that I missed in the cinema. I saw Pokemon, Pikachu Detective.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, it's good. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I even liked Pikachu being furry. He was fine.
Was he supposed to be furry then? What's he supposed to be?
Well, I don't know. Everyone kind of lost their shit. Like, the internet lose their shit about everything, I guess. I like the fact that it's like people, like, the internet is now referred to as like almost like an entity. Like an unstoppable force. Like, the internet didn't like it. But then when you think about it, had it been like a kind of like a fleshy creature, it'd been fucking horrible, wouldn't it?
Yeah, no, that doesn't work. He's got to be furry, surely. It's
got to be furry.
Wasn't there also, the internet was a bit upset about Jigglypuff being furry as well?
What else would Jigglypuff be? It looks furry. It's got like a quiff. What's that, like a horrible tumour, do they think then? Although, to be fair, the internet was right about Sonic. That was weird and wrong. And
yes. And that it's quite interesting what they've done with Sonic. I mean, that's probably one of the first times I think that I can ever know of where a producer or filmmakers have actually pulled the plug on the whole project to read all of the computer generated. Well,
I guess it helps it's being CGI because you can just go, right, fine, we're just going to replace the model, but it's still got to be a very costly process. I would have thought
all the rendering that's been done by all the hours and hours of work that it takes, because these films take years to make. Yeah. And, they would have been pushed to release, some sort of cut for it. And then they go, no, sorry, guys, can you just come back in and make him a bit more like a cartoon?
What?
See, there's a lot of work goes into these things, isn't there?
Yeah, so before you get on the internet and start whinging.
Yeah, keyboard warriors.
Just have a little think to yourself.
Think on.
If we were to draw a graph of my process, of my method, something like this. Sir Ian, action. Wizard, you shall not pass! Cut! Sir Ian.
I spoke to Amon Warmann again. He came back in the bunker. He was collared.
He was walking past the door and you came flying out, rugby tackled him on the ground and made him talk about a shit film again.
It was very, very nice of Amon to come on. But we talked about a film that I'd never seen before, which is a first. Shoot 'em up.
I saw him in the cinema in Malta.
Oh, wow.
I liked it.
You liked it?
I liked it. I thought it was fun.
I had a few problems with it, but it's difficult not to talk to Amon about Avengers Endgame, so I snuck a little bit of Endgame in there as well.
Oh, you sneaky bastard, you.
So here's the interview. Hello, it's Chris from the Movie Bunker podcast, and today I'm delighted to be joined again by Amon Warmann. Hi, Amon. Welcome to the bunker again.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah, so good you couldn't resist being drawn down to the murky depths of the bunker to talk about these films, these crazy films that no one talks about anymore.
Absolutely. Can't keep me away.
Have you watched anything good or anything bad since we last spoke? Anything disappointed you or anything that really kind of you weren't expecting to be bad?
I wasn't expecting too much from it, but Horrible Histories, Rotten Romans, the movie, I was not a fan. And I should clarify that was like my first experience with the Horrible Histories brand. I'm aware that it has like a long history on TV and it's done stuff in animated and on theatre. So I was, hoping that the film would clue me in on what I've been missing, and I did not get the hype. I wasn't a big fan of that. I actually reviewed that for Empire Magazine. It's online now. I really enjoyed Hobbs and Shaw, which is just a completely, utterly ridiculous movie in every sense of the word. I think I was laughing at it as much as I was laughing with it. But it was a very entertaining evening. And yeah, that double act is just hilarious. Some of the one-liners in that movie too are just incredible.
Do you think that's got legs, Amon? Do you think they're going to keep going with that double act scene so it's done really well?
Yeah, I think they will. Studios like money, and that has made a whole bunch of it. So we can probably expect to see them again, whether it's in their own spin-off a sequel movie or another movie sort of within the Fast and Furious franchise, we'll see that double act again for sure.
Yeah, I think it's something I can't seem to get away to the cinema much these days, but that was one that I definitely wanted to see. But I think I've left it too late now. I'll have to wait for DVD, but it certainly looks really interesting. The trailer looks phenomenal. I mean, it looks bombastic.
The trailers are fun, but the trailers do give everything away. And they did 4 or 5 trailers for that, and between all of those, they gave almost everything away. Yeah, so that's a bit of a shame, but it is still very, very entertaining. Idris Elba, Brixton, and it's funny. Before the screening started that night, we were looking at a poster which featured Idris Elba and Jason Statham, and I was like, out of these two guys, who has had the more ridiculous character names? And we went through the list, and Jason Statham wins by a mile. Lee Christmas, for one, is just incredible and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But that being said, Stack of Pentecost is great, and Brixton Law is also great. So
they are crazy names. Yeah, I recently did another podcast interview with someone from the Betamax podcast where they look at old 80s films, and we did Expendables 3, and Lee Christmas was one of the names that came up, but the cast list and names for all those Expendables movies are so bonkers, and it just completely rings true for this, like you say, this franchise. They don't have normal names. There's no Brian, Clive, Dave. There's always a Dave. Everyone knows a Dave, but there's
they go bonkers with it for sure. I also watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a few weeks ago, which is now out in UK cinemas from today, and I'm very mixed on it. I think, if I had to rate it right now, I'd give it 3 stars out of 5. But I've got a few issues with it. I think the pacing, especially in the first half, is very slow, too slow for me. And I've got issues with the Bruce Lee scene, which has been much talked about. But yeah, it didn't sit right with me watching it in the moment. And the more I think about it, the more I just don't think that was the way to go with how they incorporate that character. So that was disappointing. I think Margot Robbie is a sensational actress, and I think she does a lot with a little as Sharon Tate, but it is a little, and that is a shame. But Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt are absolutely phenomenal. The final 20 minutes, I think, are really, really great. So yeah, it's got a lot going for it, but I would not put it in my top tier Tarantino.
Are you a Tarantino fan in general?
In general, yeah. I wouldn't call myself a Tarantino mega fan, but the guy has made some incredible films over his career, which have been sort of very influential as well. So you can't dismiss that talent.
I struggle with him. I really do. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I think I liked. Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs came out when I was getting into cinema, and I was at college doing a media studies course and film studies and stuff like that. So that, of course, really spoke to me in terms of what movies could physically do and how different they could be. So Pulp Fiction is still amazing and stands up, obviously, and probably will do forever. But thereafter, I struggled with it content-wise, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it's the violence, the language, the dialogue and stuff. I just haven't been able to gel with anything since. I appreciate it for the cinematography and just his directional style and the way he writes, and he gets the characters to talk and the dialogue and things like that. But it's just, I just don't get it. I honestly don't get it, and I don't know why. I just think he's just a director that just clashes with me, and I'm not sure. Other than just think maybe it's bits and pieces about his personality that have put me off, and hearing stuff about him is. And I think that's an issue, but I mean, there's plenty of other directors and films to get your teeth into. But yeah, and I'm not definitely not going to rush to see that movie, but I'll be interested to see it.
There are directors I don't get along with too, like Ben Wheatley, for instance.
Okay, yeah,
he's a nice guy, but I can't get along with his films. High Rise bored me to sleep.
Yeah,
and even the film that I was looking forward to based on the trailer. What was that film? With all the gunfights.
Well, not shoot 'em up, but it was.
That was a shoot. I can't remember what it's called. It had Brie Larson in it, I think, and John Hamm.
Yeah, brilliant film. I thought it was really good.
It made gunshots boring. It made gunfights boring for me. I was genuinely looking forward to it. I was like, this is the film. This is the film that's going to get me on board the Ben Wheatley hype train that everybody else seems to be on.
Yeah.
And do it for me. So, yeah.
Well, good thing about that movie is Armie Hammer's beard. And that's...
his beard and his turtleneck. I respect the turtleneck. That I enjoyed, but the film, not so much.
Well, it's a good segue into the movie that you've chosen to talk about today, actually, isn't it? We've already mentioned the title, but Shoot 'Em Up.
Yeah, Shoot 'Em Up.
Oh, you have caused me no end of trouble. Tell me where the woman and child are, or I will be forced to cause you considerable agony.
Nothing could be more painful than listening to you jabbering on and on.
Hey, honey, listen, I'm afraid that this business trip's gonna take a little bit longer than I thought. Come on, boys! I need men, you understand? I need a lot more men.
These guys were stalking this lady. She had a kid. I couldn't just stand there.
Who are you, Mr. Hero? National sports pistol champion at age 10. Recruited by the Army. Sounds like Black Ops got him. Trained him.
I want 4 mags, a box of 9mm 147 hollow points, and give me 50 FMJs.
You want to buy bullets with food stamps?
It's as good as cash. Something funny. Why are you trying to kill this woman?
Do you really think the people that employ me were just gonna stand by?
There's no way you can cover up this whole thing.
Can't talk right now, honey. I'm right in the middle of something.
We're still kicking.
My God, do we really suck? Or is this guy really that good?
Who are you?
I'm a British nanny, and I'm dangerous.
Yeah, so I had watched this sort of, back around the time it came out. And back then I wasn't sort of really hugely into films in the way that I am now. And I was just in the mood to sort of rewatch it, I guess, about a month and a half ago. And I was like, this is just a blast. I had a really good time watching it. I'd previously picked a Jet Li film, The One, to talk about. I was like, have you seen Shoot 'Em Up? We should do Shoot 'Em Up. And you obliged me, so thank you.
Yeah, that's all right. I hadn't seen this, as I said. I mean, this is the...
So what do you think? I told you to wait to tell me, to be on the pod, to tell me what you think. You've seen it now. Chris, what are your thoughts on Shoot 'Em Up?
Well, I'm mixed on it, to be fair. I mean, with the first 30 minutes, I thought, I kind of got involved and got quite excited. I mean, the first 10, 15 minutes are very good. And then I think after, 30, 40 minutes, I was a little bit confused and I got a little bit bored, I must admit. But it starts off in such an earnest way, with it ticking a lot of boxes and also a lot of kind of tropes as well that you're quite familiar with this kind of genre. And around, I guess, 2007, which is when this was released, there are a lot of movies, or had been movies previously, that had focused in on gunfights especially, and that kind of stylistic action genre thing was kind of bubbling away and kicking off. And I think this was riding on that, on like the coattails of that. But for me, starts off okay and then just dwindled off slightly. But you loved it all the way through? Do you think it carries itself for 86 minutes?
I think it just about does. Like, for me, the low point comes with the sex scene shootout, which is a fun idea, but is not quite executed very well.
Yes.
But everything else just really works. It's just I think it has a perfect balance of sincerity and self-awareness, which I really, really enjoyed. It's got lines like, do we really suck, or is this guy really that good?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious. But at the same time, it's got it's genuinely heartbreaking when stuff like, Giamatti's character breaks Clive Owen's character's fingers because the guy is so good at what he does, and has scenes like that. And then on the other flip side, if we go back to that, it's got, I mean, and I love Clive Owen's character in this because he's a guy who gets so pissed off by his pet peeves that he has to act on them. And if that's not your kind of guy,
no.
So, and that is sort of, self-aware because he's got lines like, "What's up, Doc?" I mean, he's got a thing for carrots, we should mention. And there's a lot of sort of one-liners and puns to that effect. So yeah, that's just a nice balance between those two aspects of the film, which I really, really enjoyed.
So the basic plot of this movie, I'll read out the plot synopsis, which is on IMDb, which is really simple. A man named Mr. Smith delivers a woman's baby during a shootout and is then called upon to protect the newborn from an army of men. So that's it in one sentence, and that's pretty much all you need to know. That's it, released in 2007, directed by Michael Davis. So I think had previously done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, which is a fantastic movie, and Tremors, which is even better. But yeah, he hasn't done, or not credited with many directorial films, or directing many films, if you like. For him, I mean, in terms of style and stuff, it's not too bad. It ticks a lot of boxes with like the action beats, right?
Yeah, no, the action is just flat out ridiculous. I mean, the closest we get to these types of movies these days are Hobbs and Shaw and the Fast and Furious type movies because they just go completely bonkers. I was rewatching a month and a half ago, and I was watching along, and there's a scene, so the 3/4 of the way through the film, Clive Owen is driving a car. The car gets just destroyed by a truck. It turns over twice, like it goes over the back and then back to sort of being right side. And Clive Owen just keeps on driving. And I laughed my ass off because in any other film, that would be the end of the car chase right there. But no, it just gets turned over. He keeps on driving. Everything's fine.
But 2007 wasn't a very good year for action movies on the whole. And I was having a quick look because it didn't have a lot of competition, to be fair. The Bourne Ultimatum was obviously in full swing, that series. Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard, would have been Die Hard 4, I would have thought. Yeah, Transformers, okay. Shooter, Spider-Man, Pirates of the Caribbean.
I'm going to rewind there because Transformers, I think that was the first Transformers as well back in the day. We hadn't really seen effects like that on the big screen before. I've really dug that film. I still, this day, I know many people in my industry don't share this opinion, but the first Transformers film is great. And when Optimus Prime, especially if you're a fan of the original sort of, cartoon and the characters, when Optimus Prime transforms for the first time, that is an awe-inspiring moment, which they play perfectly, in no small part aided by Steve Jablonsky's incredible score in that scene.
I'm with you there. I was so excited for Transformers. It was one of those ones that I was continually checking the updates and leaks and stuff of characters development and who they were going to put in there because I'm a massive Transformers kid and I had toys and I loved the cartoon and the movie and everything. But yeah, that was exciting, and it had its moments since. But I was just looking at actually Hot Fuzz came out, which is kind of has a similar, a similar beats to the shoot up. Totally, with the kind of over the top. Obviously, it's a piss take, a Hot Fuzz in a way, or a parody of that genre, but does it with love and affection. But the two have parallels, don't they? Really.
Now that you mention it, for sure.
Let's talk about the cast in a little bit more. We talked about Mr. Smith or Clive Owen's character. He holds the film up, in my opinion, substantially. He's so dry, and he delivers the one-liners, as you say, with conviction. And the carrot thing is a nice little thing. I've never seen that before. But what's the carrot thing about, and what does it symbolise?
Hey. I mean, I guess they tie it into eyesight really well. Honestly, if this film wasn't so violent, it would be the perfect sort of film to encourage your kids to eat vegetables. The guy doesn't miss. John Wick took his cues from this guy.
He's definitely one of the. They really play upon the fact that he's a sharpshooter, a man with no name, or essentially he's got a background that we kind of you kind of get fleshed out a bit later on. But he's always got a carrot in his pocket. We go back to his apartment a bit later on, which is super cool. It's almost like Blade and Whistler's place. It reminded me of all the neon and all the bits and pieces there and the gadgets and whatnot. And he's got a vegetable patch in his apartment, just growing carrots, which he can then help himself to. Yeah, but he's always got one in his pocket. He uses it as a weapon, which is really cool. I mean, at one point, within the first 5 minutes, he rams one in someone's throat, and then it says, "Eat your greens." No, not eat your greens, because that would be stupid. Eat your vegetables.
Yeah.
What defeats the object. He uses it in the eye, I think, at one point as well. So he's definitely got, and they're very good carrots. They're not like substandard carrots. These are good.
I'm saying. Guy knows how to grow these things. It's impressive.
They're the perfect shape and size for using as stabbing instruments. So I think Clive does a good job.
These guys were stalking this pregnant lady. I couldn't just stand there. You see that? I fucking hate that.
What?
This guy changing lanes without signalling. I mean, how hard is it to use your signal?
So you started shooting at them?
No, I don't carry a pistol. I went to the woman, she had a gun. They started firing. I shot back. He's done it again. I moved my finger 1 inch to use my turn signal. Why are these assholes so lazy they can't move their finger 1 fucking measly inch to drive more safely? You want to know why?
Not particularly.
Because these rich bastards have to be callous and inconsiderate in the first place to make all that money, so when they get on the road, they can't help themselves. They've got to be callous and inconsiderate drivers too. It's in their nature.
Why don't you take the baby to the police?
I can't go to the police.
Why not?
I'm the Unabomber.
They caught the Unabomber.
That's what they think. Stupid. Right. That's it.
You are the angriest man in the world.
If I remember right, you used to like it like that.
Paul Giamatti, what do you think of him in terms of this role and the villainy that he brings to it, or his depiction?
I think he's absolutely superb. And the thing about Paul Giamatti is that it doesn't matter if it's more of a serious film than something like this, or a schlocky film like Shoot 'em Up, but he fully commits regardless. And, that's why his role is so entertaining to watch. That relationship between Hertz and Mr. Smith is really entertaining and fun. And he has this recurring thing that he does where he calls his wife as he's working, inverted commas, which never gets old. I think he's really great, really, really, really entertaining.
Yeah, he definitely runs with the tropes as well. As you say, he's quite menacing. He does the kind of, everything's okay, don't worry, you messed up, but don't worry, we'll get him next time. But then he'll shoot him in the ass, and that trope is so common with the bad guys, and there's kind of the henchmen that say, look, he got away, and we were outnumbered, and they go, yeah, it's fine, don't worry. They give him a hug and end up stabbing him in the back or shooting him in the face. And that happens in so many movies. He's scary in this as well. He's quite intimidating. And
as I say, that scene where he breaks Mr. Smith's fingers is not cool, man, but he plays it very well.
What about Monica Bellucci? Because who plays Donna Quintano, she's a sex worker, but distant past with Clive Owen's character. She's I've got to think about Monica in terms of her acting, and this really shows her up, I think. And I don't know, she was pretty poor in terms of her dialogue delivery. I don't know whether it was her fault, but I think she was quite weak in this.
Yeah, no, I definitely think she's the weak link in this, not just because I don't think the performance is all that great, but the character itself. That's where, when you're sort of running with the cliches and everything else with the action sequences, it can be fun. When you're doing that with character work, especially female character like this, she's a prostitute, she's a sex worker, she's a mother. She's the weak link for me. And
it's a shame. I think it would have been obviously a much better situation if she'd been served better with the plot and the script. Clearly she's there, I guess, as eye candy for the men, for one thing. And I think that's, there's a little bit of a misogyny issue with this movie. If we would look at the really bad points, if you look back at it, even from 2007 to now, that this kind of representation, in all seriousness, probably wouldn't wouldn't be acceptable now. We've moved on a bit as well.
Oh yeah, no. If this, you can't make films like this now. The way this film exists, it'll be heavily edited because there'll be the internet would be losing its mind.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that in terms of what's bad about it, I guess there isn't that. Those three things, I guess, was how it ran out of steam a little bit in sort of after 45 to an hour. The dialogue for maybe some of the supporting actors isn't quite right or great, and the misogyny. Those are the three things that I think are quite poor. But there's enough good stuff to kind of hold your attention. So, like you said, the action, the one-liners, and it is a turn your brain off film. And I had a couple of gin and tonics last night while I was watching it, and I think it did improve. It did improve, but because I didn't really care as much about kind of all the little more political bits and pieces that were placed in there, because there's a lot of other characters that come in or they draw in on the second half that change the narrative slightly, and it does get a little bit confusing, I think.
Yeah, no, a part of me wishes they'd gone as silly with the plot as it does with the action, because they sort of play the plot quite straight. But and I get that. You say that it runs out the steam in places, and that it's got a couple of sort of low points in the film. But for me, at least, there's enough. There's a cool action sequence right around the corner.
Yeah.
To offset that and keep it, and get it back to the right side of being entertaining again. As we have sort of mentioned, it's only an 18-minute film, so
you're in and out quite quickly without having to worry too much about it. You're not in there for 2.5 hours, which would be crazy. But before we kind of cap off and just think, whether we're going to let this out for general consumption or whether it's going to remain in the bunker forevermore. Let's talk about the soundtracks. I know you're kind of like this. You're a soundtrack guru or a score guru, aren't you? Really, this is your passion as well. But I think for me, the soundtrack really holds up the movie too, doesn't it?
Yeah. No, with an action-heavy film like this, you do need good needle drops to help propel you through that sequence, and they mostly get that right, which is good. Again, if that aspect didn't work, then that's a crucial component to the action sequences that you've lost.
To get the rights to some of the songs as well, I think they would have spent a lot of money on them, because you get Nirvana within the first action scene. That's when I got a little bit excited. So you get Breed by Nirvana pop up, and with such a iconic riff, and then you get Ace of Spades, which can add iconic flavor to any action scene. I mean, it works with anything. AC/DC, Wolf Mother, cracking song, and so for me, the soundtrack is really good and really cool. And I think they'd obviously spent some time and a bit of money on that aspect of it to just to try and gel it and bring it together, which I thought was a good move.
Yeah, no, it's smart, and I should have mentioned this earlier, but as you mentioned, it starts with Nirvana, and that really for the fun action sequence and that title card. And honestly, within the first 10 minutes, you'll know if the film is for you. It starts as it means to go on, and it's a very, powerful, memorable opening statement.
The baby doesn't do very well, little Oliver, in terms of, I mean, it's a plot device, I get it, but you got to suspend disbelief that baby would have been dead within half an hour. I mean, it's not fed, it's not kept warm, its eardrums would have been, shot to pieces. I mean, the poor thing. I mean, I know what it's like looking after keeping something alive, and it's hard even in a house. But this thing is thrown around left, right, carried around in carrier bags.
Don't underestimate the durability of a baby.
Yeah, they are strong. Maybe we do molder coddle them too much. I mean, come on. That's what I said to my wife. He's all right. He doesn't need a blanket. He's fine. Leave him out in the rain. He's fine. I should have been a bit more hard during. No wonder they spoiled rotten, my kids, because they didn't have this kind of upbringing.
I hope they listen to this at some point.
Because you're a guest, you get a hard pass. So, I mean, because you came to us with this movie, and the bunker overlords, they like having guests because they're sick of the Matt's voice. This will remain for general consumption. I think we can recommend it for anybody, if a fan of guns, tongue-in-cheek humor, and just just general turn brain off kind of enjoyment, right? If anything,
Yes.
like you said. So
I agree with that statement.
okay, Amon, look, thank you so much for talking to me about this film, and I'm glad I watched it finally. Thank you again for coming on and talking to me about it.
Of course, thank you for having me.
And where can we find you online? What have we done recently that we can catch up on?
So yeah, I'm on Twitter at Warmann. You can find all my musings there. I do stuff for Empire Magazine fairly regularly now, which is fun. I'm on the Spider-Man Far From Home spoiler podcast. That's the latest podcast I'm on, and I'll be on a couple other things. I'm also in the latest issue of the magazine. I did a piece on Get Out in celebration of the Empire's the 30th anniversary 30 covers thing, which they are doing. Do get involved in that. It's very, very fun. And I also gave you the 411 on Marvel's The Eternals, which was confirmed at San Diego Comic-Con fairly recently. So yeah, do seek that out. It's a good issue.
The other thing as well, before you go, is that you were spot on about Endgame. You called a couple of things on the Marvel Wrap podcast where you and a couple of friends basically rewatched the entire Marvel back catalogue in chronological order. And you called a couple of things before Endgame was released, and I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And as I watched it in the cinema and it physically happened, I went, damn, he's good.
I did sort of, after I saw the film, I did make repeat to a couple of friends more than once that I called it when it came to Captain America lifting a certain Uru weapon, which was one of the greatest cinematic moments.
I think so, yeah.
Honestly, in an era where, there's a conversation which never seems to let up in terms of why are audiences coming to the cinema instead of staying at home and Netflix and Amazon and what have you. It's the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, the really big ones anyway, who consistently give you reasons to be a part of that communal experience because, Avengers Infinity War, Black Panther, Avengers Endgame, watching those three films for the first time was some of the most incredible, cinema experiences of my entire life. So yeah,
long may it continue.
Yeah,
let's fingers crossed. Touch wood. No balls are dropped.
They have the confidence of pretty much everybody right now. It will take something drastic. I wouldn't even say. I think it would need to be like back-to-back misfires for, at least for me, to be like, what's going on here? And I don't see that happening anytime soon.
Again, I'll let you go because it's. I know you're a busy guy. I've got to go and check on the children, make sure they're not killing each other. So, thank you again, Amon, for joining me today.
No worries, of course. Have a good one.
I don't know about you, but I'm thirsty as fuck.
Thanks, Amon, again for that. It was perfect.
I do like Amon's take on things. I do like the way it's different. It's the way I view things. He makes me think about it differently.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're very, very lucky with the guests we've had. They make us look like two idiots.
Yeah.
But they do have very different, not viewpoints, but they just bring a whole different professional take on the whole movie process and why people like things and what's good about them and why we should and shouldn't like stuff. And ultimately, film critics and journalists just do like movies. And the majority of them aren't, piffy about stuff. They are genuinely excited about stuff and see good stuff for what it is, or just these kind of throwaway movies and take them for what they are, sit back and enjoy them like a regular person would do it. But, they might look at maybe the cinematography or the use of the score a little bit differently or a bit more in depth than maybe the average Joe, potentially. I don't know.
Yeah. But I guess when there's so much stuff they have to churn through, the keen eye picks out the things that they actually kind of enjoy or are unique that they like to see. Interesting, good stuff. Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. So now it's pitch time, right?
It's the pitch. Play the intro music, Chris.
Here it is. What do you think of that then?
I think I laughed out loud the first time I heard it because weirdly, I guess, with people bringing down that curtain again, is that you did the first edit, putting in the music for the pitch, and I hadn't heard it before, and I did laugh. I did a snortle in the car when it was playing. So I like it.
It's subtle, isn't it?
It's a grower, not a shower. Anyone wasn't aware what the pitch is and why should you be? It's our new feature, which is now, this is the third one. So this is the tricky stage to get in, because everyone's got one book in them, but have they got 2 films, Chris? In this week's pitch, Chris is pitching to me a film idea, which I will try to poo-poo and see if we'll get it made or not. Yeah, that's fundamentally it, right? There's no magic to it. It's just that.
Yeah, that's it. We've had an alien invasion sort of cyberspace type one, and then we've had your very disturbing zombie mental illness one that you told.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I was going to step back, and I was obviously in a dark place. My next week's one is a lot lighter, a lot of brevity in there.
This will hopefully be a bit lighter for everybody. So my idea, here we go. Here's my pitch for movie number 3. Okay. Now the working title is Striker, but it could also be something like, I don't know, Golden Balls. And so you can tell by the title, it's got something to do with sport and maybe
ice
soccer.
hockey. Oh, right. Okay.
Soccer stroke football for the British out there. So see what you think of this. This is the premise. And this is a very, very short and sweet pitch. And we can flesh out a little bit of the details. Okay. So this revolves around a boy stroke girl who is underprivileged, stroke living in a slum or a council estate. That's to be decided. And it could be a film that could be made in the UK, it's in the States, it could be African or Mexico or anywhere. Any continent really could really do this film well. But they discover at a very young age, this child, that when they kick a ball, they never miss their desired target.
Ooh.
So essentially, it starts off in the playground or in a slum, dusty wasteland where they're challenged to score or hit a post or something, or hit an obstacle or an object rather, and they hit it and kick it and hit it every time, and to the point where it becomes an attraction. So hordes of people and villagers or people on the estate will come and see. Look at so and so. Look, watch this, and he does it or she does it, kicks every time, and will hit the target, whatever that target may be, just by kicking the ball. And then they get spotted by a talent scout. And then we go to this kind of rags to riches type story where the underprivileged boy or girl is then brought out of that situation and into the limelight, and then goes on to play for some weird MacGuffin type way in like a big stadium, and that takes penalties for like a World Cup situation or something similar, or plays for the Premiership as the youngest person to ever play for, like, I don't know, Liverpool or something like that. It could be anything, and it's, we could go, there's loads of options for it. But then, and ultimately there would be a kind of situation where the boy or girl then has to make a decision in terms of whether they're going to pursue this life or they're going to go back to what they know and help the people that are underprivileged or whatever. So put their talents or their wealth or whatever to good use. So there's that kind of Annie kind of vibe to it, where there's, a multi-millionaire's dealing with this person, and they're having a more of a social commentary on the wealth of the money and this sort of sport, and actually the people that enjoy it the most don't have any access to it, sort of thing. There could be loads of cameos from the football world, from the pundit world. There could be loads of comedy actors and actresses in it. Yeah, I think it's got great potential. But yeah, that's my pitch, essentially. What do you think?
Well, football films are notoriously hard to sell, weirdly, because when you think of the size of the sport, there hasn't really been any good ones until now, obviously, yes. The story you're describing is somewhat similar to the, I think it was a trilogy of films called Goal. I don't know if you've heard of these, but they lacked the sort of mystical element of the never miss that you propose. So riches and then riches, corruption is a well trodden path and something that we all like to see, I think. If I may make a suggestion, I would say potentially you'd have more scope for drama if it was a girl tackling a man's world, try to break down those barriers despite the obvious skill. It might be a different story.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think that works better as with a young girl footballer.
Yeah,
I think so. And also, I had another idea that they actually
to play alongside men.
Yeah, but also that the power, the unmissable power, that suddenly just disappears one morning on the morning of the big crescendo to the film. Actually, she misses the most important shot, which is a penalty shootout or whatever, or a TV event, and the world is left aghast, and she's like, "Oh, okay, fine."
Got that sort of inspirational kind of undertone, but there isn't any reason. I mean, it could be both serious and played for laughs. It could be either or a combination of both.
Yeah, I just envisaged the parents being, not like Matilda's parents, not that horrible and ghastly, but just or Billy Elliot, where they're just working class or underprivileged, everything.
Again, that folds better in with it being a female, I think, because you could have an old northern dad going, No daughter of mine's going to be playing football.
Yeah. Well, there's that film, isn't there, recently with...
I don't know why Gandalf would be her dad.
You shall not play soccer. I said,
I do love a sports film. I'm a big fan of sports films, even shit ones. I do like a good sort of inspirational story. I think it's from seeing Rocky as a young boy, unless I see something dramatic around sport. I mean, I even like the Tin Cup, for fuck's sakes.
I don't like I don't like any sports films, really. I mean,
and yet you pitched one. How random!
Yeah. Well, because my kids are really into football all of a sudden, and it's different. It's different. I'm a football dad now, I've got no choice. I've never been interested in football, and now I have to because I've got two young boys for whatever reason now are obsessed with the sport. I'm finding myself in a football world, which I detest. Because I don't like, the money. I just don't like a lot of the theatre around football. I think it's just wrong. I don't think it's a good sport for kids. But I'm gradually turning a little bit around on that based on what I have seen. I'm more of a rugger man, but
yeah, you can tell. I think it's a good story. I think I would watch it. It might need a couple of different treatments and a few test audiences before we get to the final distilled product. But yeah, I'm going to let you run with that one, Chris.
Thank you so much, Matthew. It's been lovely pitching to you today.
Welcome. Now drop them. We probably should stop doing this because this is highly inappropriate.
That's the second time you've done that now.
I know, right? I don't know if I want it to be my catchphrase, but as catchphrases go, it's probably quite toxic.
It is probably one of the most toxic catchphrases you can do. But yeah, we'll keep it in.
Now drop them. It's not really what I want to be taken on the road. That's for sure.
So next time it's your turn again, and I can't wait to listen and obviously support your idea, which I always do. You know that I'm a big
you're always fully behind me and shitting on it from a great.
Yes. So yeah, if you like what we hear, tune in next week. I think we'll probably do it whenever the next episode's out, we'll do a film review, and then we'll do another pitch on the follow-up episode with another special guest, which I'm looking forward to. So keep your eyes and ears peeled for the little ding dong that goes off on your mobile phone app that tells you that this mother of a podcast has dropped, and
the behemoth.
You download it and you listen to it, and you guffaw, you laugh, you giggle, you go, oh, yes, yeah.
You cry.
You cry, and then you drop them, or then you go online. You go, do you know what? I haven't rated this podcast and I haven't written a review, so I'm going to do that now.
What kind of monster would listen to a podcast and not rate it, Chris? What kind of monster?
I can say a lot of our listeners, I think they should now go online, unless you're on the tube, which you can't, or you're driving, but go on your app, select Movie Bunker Podcast, download all the episodes that you've not listened to yet, and then hit subscribe as well. Do that as well. And then give it a 4 or 5-star rating, wherever it is, and then write a review. Great podcast. 2 fantastic hosts. Bit needy, but can be.
I read a rumor on the internet as well that if you do those precise steps that you've detailed there, Chris, it actually makes your phone waterproof as well.
Does it?
So that's just it's just it's something to do with the key presses and stuff. It's just it just secures your phone against any water-based intrusion.
Well done. Well, go to it, listeners. Go to it now. Go to it. Until next time, it's Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.
Bye.